Caddis Maximus here, this time with a review of the Harbor Freight Pittsburgh Pro folding L key set. These are the Star or Torx security hollow tip ones, and they have or are advertised S2 steel. They even stamp it on each one of the little wrenches, and they have a very heavily stamped aluminum frame on them. These kind of are oddly priced. I think it's like $6.50 or something. If you use coupons, you can get both of them for $10. A little bit pricey, but they are unique for my tool collection. I actually have L keys that are Star as well as ones that are security, but none that were like folding that seem to be actually decent. Now, the S2 tool steel is actually better than chrome vanadium or chrome molybdenum. It's a little more brittle, but it's actually much harder, and that's good in these types of drives, particularly on the Star, because there's a lot of force that's put on right on the little tips of these, and you do want a better grade of steel. I've actually owned cheaper Harbor Freight Star drives, and on a really stuck Torx fastener, it will just shear all these little lobes off. So I'm actually glad that they're making these out of a better grade of steel. We can also see that the chrome plating is pretty darn nice. Nice hex screws, which I think is kind of interesting that they didn't use Torx on the assembly of this. They actually use this hex screws. You know, it's one of those consistency things. They do laser etch it on one side, and then they have all the sizes on the other. So this larger set goes from T10 to T40, and they actually have a second set here, which is pretty tight. These things are really made really cinched down from the factory, but I suppose that these little plastic washers will loosen up and you'll have to periodically retighten them. Anyway, and the little set goes from T5 through T15, so there's a couple sizes that overlap, but I think that was kind of neat, is that you have this little folding set, and even the tiny ones decent quality, all the way up from T5 through T40, so it actually completes a lot of sizes. They're actually really small and compact, so they would be good for a toolbox or for a carry-on tool bag if you are in, doing some types of service where you need these. They're very compact, and that's kind of what I appreciate about these little guys. You can see that the larger one is, physically a little bit bigger in the dimensions, but overall, from Harbor Freight, these seem pretty decent. I think on the packaging they did say that these were made in Taiwan, so they kind of reflect that. Even in the smaller details, surprisingly enough, like the chrome on every one of these wrenches is good and pretty darn consistent. And, on really cheap tools, there'll be like one good chrome-plated one where the chrome plating's really thin and rough, and they are pretty darn nice on these. If we look at things like the centering of the holes, the hollow tips with the security, that's on really cheap bits. It becomes really obvious where the holes are like really off center and it's like really close to one edge. And on these, it's just all pretty darn well centered. If we look at the other side here, the same thing. So if they didn't say Pittsburgh Pro, if they said a better brand on them, you would accept it because they seem great. Even on the small one, the other consistent thing is the stamping and die work on these aluminum pieces are actually pretty decent. They're straight. These holes are actually pretty well centered. There's a nice even buckle around the edges. So I thought, God, I took a close look at them, and I thought, those were pretty decent little Harbor Freight units. So I wanted to make a quick little review of them. And I'm going to be fine with adding these to my collection. They actually are now folding security Torx sets. Didn't have those before, so always set building. Anyway, I'll leave the part numbers in the description, and wanted to say I really appreciate all the subscribers and everybody who has been commenting. I'm going to try to put more effort into responding to more comments, but that doesn't mean I don't read them and appreciate the comments from all the subscribers, both old and new. And if you haven't subscribed to the Caddis Maximus channel, please do. Until next time, Caddis Maximus out.